Welcome back to J-Max Customs and Fabrication. That's Off-Road Games is now 56 days away. We're on to video 17. I brought back the whiteboard that had been missing, well, since the last video. Today's word is simplicity. The definition of that is simply the opposite of building a four-link suspension. And that was said by everyone that's ever built one. Yeah, as usual, just making stuff up. But there's a lot of truth to it. About have the motorcycle hoist cleaned off over here. I'm going to pull the 42s off of that front axle and get the Dana 60 up here on some jack stands. We'll build that top bridge across it and get our two top link mounting locations built into it and our shock locations, limiting strap, hoops. And then once we get that done, then we'll build the bracketry, the plate, and get the hydraulic cylinder, the ram. It's a dual-ended ram from PSC. It's left over from my last rock crawler that I had. We'll get the whole front axle pretty much all built fab-wise. I'll bring it back in a later episode after we drive this thing around a little bit, and we'll put an ARB air locker in it and we'll re-gear it. But that'll be down the road a little bit. So with that said, I'm going to get rid of this brand new hoodie because 5 minutes of welding in it and then I'll look as homeless as I do in my shop hoodie. I'm sure that you guys have all noticed that I just wear that hoodie in every video, and that's because it's already got a bunch of burn holes in it and everything, and I don't want to do that with this brand new one. So I would put a montage of me doing like a whole Mr. Rogers thing, you know, where he comes in, the music's playing, he changes his shoes and his sweater and stuff. But I don't know if you guys know this or not, but his kids or whoever owned the rights to the Mr. Rogers stuff, Ian Johnson from Big Tire Garage, I think it was back when he was still doing Extreme 4x4 or one of his other shows, he did a montage like that and they sued him over it. So don't ever do that. Anyway, let's get this axle up on this hoist and we'll come back and we'll turn it into an off-road Dana 60. I have got the axle up here on the motorcycle hoist. I have a big welding table over in the big shop, but it sits up pretty high, and by the time I got this axle on here, it would be too high. This is pretty much the perfect height. Put it on some jack stands, set my pinion about where it's going to be when it's in the rig. That way I can build everything off of it, make sure everything's copacetic. Working on this top bridge, and these are for my top bars. I got the angle where I want it. It's taller than I want. This is going to sit right under the oil pan, which is going to leave me no choice but to raise the wrecker up, which I did not want to do. But if I don't bring my top links to the center like this and I try to miss the oil pan, it puts them way out to where my top links are almost parallel with the frame. That doesn't work because it's a double triangulated four link. If the one set of them isn't triangulated or angled, you lose the property of holding your axle center in the vehicle and it wants to walk. So we have to make sacrifices like you always do when you're building a four link. I got a package in the mail. I believe it's the one that I'm thinking it is. I actually remembered not to just cut it open this time without you guys. Ordered this off of eBay. Oh, what the heck? Do you guys know what this is? Man, I don't know. It's a trailer hub. What the heck? That looks like a spindle. What's going on? Yeah, that's a trailer spindle. What the heck is going on? That's... well, maybe that's not what I was looking for. Huh. A trailer spindle, bearings, hubs, lug nuts. I don't know, man. But anyway, that's what I got in the mail today. Been waiting on parts that I need. I get a trailer hub. What's that all about? Anyway, I'm going to mount the top mounts. I have the bottom mounts. They were put on for the 4-crawler. So these are all built up and ready to go. The same hive joint will fit these, so they're good to go. I have this cut out. This one's going to go where I welded the housing to the axle, and then I got to set it at the same angle, and then this other one will be kind of floating out here in space until we build the whole bridge. This heavy 3/8 will go across the top of the diff to tie the two sides together, and this is what will tie the outside bracket on the driver's side. I hope that makes sense. I have to go and cut another one of these, but it won't be the same. It won't have the saddle in it to go over the axle tube. It will be made to where there'll actually be a piece that comes off of this piece over and then up, and it'll have these holes in these brackets are offset side to side by 1/4 of an inch. So overall you get a 1/2 inch offset. That way when you put your brackets on here, your tabs, it offsets that bolt in them this way, so that when you put them at the right angle like that, to where everything's in line where the link's going to run, these are all square with the axle. Which, I mean, that's handy to have your CNC table for, because you can just punch these out in mass quantities. And they're the same, they're exactly the same. They're offset by 1/4 of an inch. You take this one, copy it, cut it, put it on the other side. It's the exact same thing, but it's offset in the other, going in the other direction. Give you your 1/2 inch offset for that, for the width of the heim, and it's spot on. And you just sit there and hit print, and it just keeps cutting. Make as many of them as you want, which would be really handy if you're mass producing something. I'm doing one-off stuff, but it's still easy to make 2 of something and 3 of something, and then I can take this in that program, I can cut it off, I can build the other pieces and everything, and they'll all match. I don't have to worry about variance. So it's that said, I am going to go, I have to figure out how to build this piece, because it's going to look like a diamond. It's not going to be square. It's going to have angles and stuff to it. I have to cut the top links down to 38 inches in length, because they're about the same length as the bottom ones. And due to the fact that I need room for other things under there, I'm going to shorten them up to the 80% of the lower length. Then maybe I'll show you what the trailer axle and hub are for, because they do go to this project. And this is another thing that, like, I have not seen before, but it's gonna be cool. There's a couple more pieces to that I'm still waiting on. I'm trying to find a kit to where I get the pieces that I need for this project, but also the pieces that come with it that I can use on the fork crawler, because I already have some of the pieces that are going into the wrecker that will correlate with this, but I need kind of the same thing in less of a dramatic effect for the fork crawler. So I'm doing some shopping. So with that said, I am going to go and make another tab. I needed to build this one so that I knew, like when I put this one on here, how it needs to go. With this, I can build my plate between them to where I can locate this one off of that one. But I also need to know the width of this and the height in which that I'm going to go from this one to that one, so I know how short to cut this, and then the plate that goes between them will be the same as this one. So I needed to build this one so that I could finish this one. I know this piece is right, it's just building the other two pieces for this driver's side one that will play off of the measurements that I take for that one. So that's math and stuff that I'm going to do. I've probably bored you enough by talking for 15 minutes. So I'll be right back. Yesterday when it wasn't so cold, right now it is 1 degree out. I did not get my propane hooked up, so it's cold in here, like 1 degree. So you're gonna be able to see my breath, but I'm in the shop and I'm gonna get these 4-link brackets for the top of the axle welded up. You can see it here. These got them kind of laid out here, but I'll show you. This one is the one that goes over the differential. So this ear is going to be hanging out here in space until we get the bridge built over the top of the pumpkin. This one is built to go over this weld, so it's gapped out a little bit more. Then this one is the full set. That'll go on here like that. And I already told you about how they're offset and everything. But then I cut these pieces here, and they fit in between them this way, and that's what'll give me the right offset and whatnot as far as how far apart they'll be. And then I also cut these pieces that aren't square, they're more like a diamond, and they'll go in between this way to bridge that gap and stiffen them up that way. That'll also hold the angle of the dangle like it's supposed to be and whatnot. These will set down. I made this here a little long so that I can get a really good weld off to the side here. I think my old glove's gonna need either a seamstress or a retirement. It's cold enough in here that I might actually use a welding glove on that hand too, so I got a little insulation. I don't like it, but it'll work. So I have my welder set up. I have these pushed up against the rim here, which in theory should make them correct. It should. I don't know that it will. I'm gonna spot this one in first. Make sure she's square. Some of it I'm just going to have to eyeball. Which will be close enough. This is what's nice about having an actual welding table instead of a motorcycle hoist. I built an extra one of these that I'm going to put in here, and that'll keep everything from getting all cattywampus on me, because this is exactly like the upper one. You can see how big of a gap there is here. That means that it did this on me when I spotted it, or it was like that before I spotted it. But we'll clamp this in there to where it's right. Well, there you go. It's spotted together. I mean, it needs quite a bit more welding, but and then that's just set up to where, you know, put it in the middle of the axle and bam. Now I got to clean all this up, but it does look good. I mean, you can see that. That'll all be welded on there. This is kind of out here in the wild open there, but this upper bridge will come up and it'll run into it where you can still get your bolt out, and it'll probably just come to the top of the gussets there, and then it'll come off of this side. Maybe we'll bridge it down like that, but it'll have that top bridge to it that'll tie all of this in even better. And when I put that on there, I'll come in and weld the backside in here to that, and then that'll weld to the axle. And then on the backside, I'm going to piece it together to where this will actually come in and deadhead into this piece, so that I can weld it really good. And it'll, I don't know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, when we're building the bridge. I'm going to clean this axle up, and I'm going to put some really healthy tacks on this. Then we'll shove it back up under the pickup and do the frame side. Then we'll cycle it, make sure that everything works the way we want it to. And then we'll build the rest of our bridge and our spring mounts and our bump stop plates and everything where we're going to bottom out on. But we want to do this stage here, get that all set up, get under the pickup, make sure everything works. Then if we have to make altercations, we don't have to cut, you know, the whole apparatus apart. I want to make sure this is going to be right underneath the oil pan, which is not what I was planning. You know, what do you do? I had to raise the center of my pins up to get the separation between my top links and my bottom links. You have to have a certain amount of separation from the bottom mount to the top mount in order for your suspension to not have weird characteristics. We'll grind this axle tube clean in this area here for now. We'll get this spot welded on there really, really good. Doesn't sound like my batteries are liking this 1 degree of heat. Oh, we're gonna have to call in the big dog. That'll speed up the process anyway. That ain't going nowhere. When I get this to where it's up under there and I like it, and we put the front plate on this bridge, then we will add to that the bracketry and everything to put the hydraulic ram on here so that we have full hydraulic steering. Right now, not going to worry about it. This front end is going to be probably the most extensive part of this build because it's going to have the 4 links. It's going to have the custom suspension that I'm going to try and fabricate. There's just, you know, hydraulic steering, and then you got your orbital valve that hooks to the steering column that has to be on there. We're going to have to come back and put a locker and gears in this axle. It'll have to have a front drive line built. So once we get the front axle and the front of the frame built, those are going to be like the 2 big things as far as, you know, taking some time and really slowing us down and whatnot. Once we get that knocked out, you know, then it's just kind of smaller things. As far as going to the games, I don't have to have my whole bed built. If I have the boom, you know, and the lights and a few things, I can get there. But this front end, you know, it's got to be pretty well built. The other stuff is kind of like, you know, let's get to the games this year, and then that gives us a year to like really refine it and, you know, build a fancy bed and do all this other stuff. In order to crawl over rocks and have some fun and stuff, we need a front end. Can't really help that. So I'll get this off of here. We'll get it shoved back up under there. And with this motorcycle hoist, I can actually jack it up a little bit and lower it. And we can pretty much run the axle up under the pickup. And then with a couple of ratchet straps, I can just suspend this off of the frame. I know, me and ratchet straps, but it is what it is. So I can do all of that really quick, really easy without having to do a lot of anything. The only downside to that is that I can't put the 42s on doing it that way. But at the same time, with all of this stuff on the top here, I'm not going to be able to get this under the frame with the 42s on it anyway. Just is what it is. So I'm going to figure out how to get this back under the pickup. You guys take a break and warm up. I don't get that luxury. I hope I have enough footage to get you guys out a video, because it's just not much fun being out here as cold as it is. I'm warming up right at the moment under my patio heater. I called and did some quotes and everything. I figured out what company I'm going to go with as far as getting my propane, but they have to set a tank and trench a line and everything. I didn't really think that it was fair to expect them to come out, set a tank and trench a line when it was like 0 degrees out, just because I had procrastinated this long because it was warm. So I put it off, and I figure that, you know, I'll make it work through the weekend, get a hold of them, have them come out next week when it's back in the 40s, maybe closer to the 50s. It's just more fair for everybody. I used my ratchet straps, and I got the axle off of the motorcycle hoist. The ride height in which that I had it set at, you can tell I'm going to have interference here with my top links and the bottom of the oil pan. If I pick up those jack stands that are under the frame anymore, then they're going to start teetering because they won't have the support in the tube there. So I need to add some blocking underneath the jack stand itself. I'm going to go home where it's warm and edit some videos instead of continuing. So we'll pick up right there next time with raising the frame up and getting these 4-link brackets and all the geometry and everything figured out back on the frame. We'll get a cross member built for the lower links, and we'll get brackets built and reinforce the frame for the upper links. We'll get everything all figured out, get our drive line and all that stuff to where everything works together. And then we will get this bridge figured out. We'll get our shock mounts figured out so that we can get the hydraulic steering on here, and then we can get the orbital mounted. It'll mount to the cab and the lines will come off of it. That way when I tilt the cab, all that can stay connected. So there will be no steering shaft or anything like that connected to, you know, the orbital on the frame or something to where I can't just tilt the cab. But with that said, thanks for watching J-Max Customs and Fabrication. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on Tuesday. Hope you're enjoying the footage. See you next time.